Hello, everyone. I am Joshua William Gelb, and welcome to the Theater in Quarantine here in my East Village apartment, where so many months ago now, when we first received the stay-at-home orders, I converted the closet behind me into a white box digital performance laboratory. It is Thursday, July 16th, and it's 7 o'clock here in New York City. So thank you for joining me tonight for our monthly dance series, Closet Works. Now, this is our second installment, but our first being presented by the Invisible Dog Art Center with additional support from Mamie Kanfer and Justin Stewart. Lucienne, thank you so much for your encouragement and for all your help getting this evening up. And thank you to all of you. Now, Closet Works Volume 3 will be back again on Thursday, August 13th. But prior to that, Theater in Quarantine will be back on July 30th with a brand new adaptation of Stanislaw Lem's Star Diaries, created with my Hunger Artist cohorts John Levin and Josh Luxemburg, and it's called The Seventh Voyage of Egon Tichy. That's July 30th. Check it out. Tonight, we have got some wonderful pieces in store for you. Our artistic associate and resident movement director, Katie Rose McLaughlin, is premiering a new piece with text by Sanaz Ghajar, performed by myself and Veronica Jiao, called Open, Open, Open. And we're following that up with an encore of Kaleidoscopetry, music by Nate Stevens and Nehemiah Luckett, with choreography by Katie Rose McLaughlin. And finally, we have a premiere from our special guest choreographer, Raja Feather Kelly, called The Opera Lucy. Now, if you enjoy the work, please consider subscribing to our channel. And we've also got a digital tip jar, which you can find the link to in the description. Anything you donate to Theater in Quarantine will be distributed equally amongst the artists tonight. I want to thank all of our guests this week, and I want to thank you again. After the performance, please stick around. As always, I will be here, except tonight I will be joined by Katie Rose McLaughlin and Raja Feather Kelly, and we're going to be happy to answer any questions you'd like to throw in the comments section. If you enjoyed tonight's performance, please also share the link to our 9 o'clock show, which is also in the description. So, let's get started. I'm going to take a brief 1-minute break so I can get into places. The evening's a little over 25 minutes long, so sit back and enjoy Closet Works.
open, 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 walls. Look this way, a corner formed by lines meeting at one point. Look this way, vast expanse above. Look this way, descent as we imagine. Here, look to the camera. Hold. Keep holding. Close your eyes. Okay. We are walking outside. It's wet like rain, like an art show after party in the springtime when the showers appear and suddenly build romance and beauty into the evening, wet on our skin, glistening as we run, holding hands, thrilled children down the subway station stairs. Catch it, you exult. Hold on, I holler. We swipe, slide through the turnstile as the doors close as we yell. Open, open, open.
Okay, so you're gonna go from that, and you're just gonna hold it for like, I think 2 counts in your head. So like 1, 2, and then you're gonna run at the camera, initiate it with your arms. Yeah! Beautiful. And that's when that rotation is happening. That's fantastic.
I'm gonna get my own little closet. Great, yeah, wonderful. Okay, so yeah, there's some, this is crazy! Okay, so there's something about, what did you just do? Oh yeah, so there's something about coming forward. I mean, like, is there anything out there? And then that's when you can do your hand, and let's make them not even, yeah, hand, and then push off. And then you turn around to look at this wall. And it's almost like, when you look at the back wall, it's almost like you're looking at a piece of art. The thing that I've learned and feel most strongly about in terms of this work is the sense that building theater in New York has been broken for a long time, particularly as an independent artist. You spend more time fundraising and conceiving of grant language than you do in rehearsal, and it's very easy to lose sight of the work. And it's very easy to lose sight of that spirit of experimentation. And what's been really rewarding about the closet is being able to wake up and have a venue, have a space, have an actual practice that I'm able to engage in on a daily basis, and feel suddenly that I'm able to plumb the depths of a venue in a way I've never been able to before. Because you're always just, in and out of Tech Week, and then you move on to the next Black Box or the next proscenium, and it's really hard to engage with an architecture in a way that allows you to truly explore all of the possibilities. Hello, I'm back. Thank you all so much for watching. So I'm actually going to attempt to bring Raja Feather Kelly and Katie Rose McLaughlin, our choreographers from the evening, I'm going to try and Skype them in, and well, let's see how that goes. Oh, I think firstly I have to turn my Wi-Fi on. That's a process. But thank you all. So I'm going to bring them in, and we're hopefully going to talk to you, and we're going to be happy to answer any questions you may have about the process or about the projects. Let's see, still connecting. Takes a little moment. As I mentioned before, if you enjoyed the piece or if you enjoyed the evening, there's a link in the description, which is a little digital tip jar for the artists. It's divided equally among all the artists tonight. Also, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We've got shows every other Thursday, apparently well into the fall. And we're also going to be back in 2 weeks with another installment of Closet Works. And that's, of course, presented by the Invisible Dog Art Center with additional support from Mamie, Kanfer, and Justin Stewart. I should stop promoting right now and try and figure out Skype. So, Katie Rose thought it would be really great to watch me do this, as opposed to making you wait a little longer than what it takes for me to get out of a morph suit. Sure, yep. Well, start a meeting. There's confetti everywhere. So, let's see if I can add Raja and Katie Rose. Oh, wait. Thrilling digital content right here. It's almost like real life. Thank you all. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible work. Really an amazing. Oh, hey, you're here. Well, let's see if we did this correctly. Okay, so hold on 1 second. Let's see if this is working. Oh, yep. Wait, I have to get to the next tab. I have to double check. Katie Rose is on, and Raja is on. Okay, here's the part where we cross our fingers. Talk that time. Of course, none of you will know, or we won't know for 20 seconds whether or not it worked or not. But Raja and Katie Rose, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Great, wonderful. I can hear you too. Raja, are you there?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much for joining me tonight and for making such amazing work this week. Everything was done this past week. We had a little incident a couple weeks ago with our production of Hypochondriac, so a lot of things got pushed back. We ended up doing a performance last Thursday, so a lot of our rehearsals got pushed around, and really we did this entire event in the past, say, 8 or 9 days, which is a lot. Here, why don't Katie Rose, if you wanted to start us off, I'm gonna open my scotch.
Great.
Between performances.
What'd you say?
There's a little nip between performances.
You gotta do it.
You gotta.
You gotta.
And a glass of water, too.
And a glass of water.
Great. Raja, that was so good.
It was such a pleasure to be a part of this. Josh, you were so beautiful tonight. So beautiful.
Well, thank you. It got off to a slightly literally bumpy start, but I think we managed to correct it. I ran right into the tripod.
When? When did that happen?
Right at the beginning of Katie Rose's first piece.
No way. I would.
It was just budged a slight bit, but Oh, framing's very important to me.
It's one of the many things we love
about you, Josh.
True. Oh, well, gosh. So again, if anyone has any questions about the work or about what it means to... Oh, it's Sanaz is in the comments section. Everyone talk slow with spaces in between words and it will sound like poetry. Yes, that's so true. Sanaz was our playwright, text writer, our author of Open, Open, Open. And it's just such a beautiful piece. That piece was written a couple months ago for an experiment we were trying out here in the closet, and ultimately that experiment fell through, but what we ended up with was this like amazing abundance of beautiful text. And so Katie Rose, why don't you start there and talk a little bit about why you chose it and how it opened up for you once we sort of started looking at it as a sort of individual piece on its own.
Sure.
Also commenting on the
crazy echo
that's happening.
Yeah, that's because of what I was worried about.
I see. I'm just going to talk really slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And wait for the echo to finish before I start my next sentence.
Yep.
Yeah, I was so excited to be collaborating with Sanaz and also with Veronica. It was so thrilling. Sanaz wrote this really beautiful piece of text for something, like you said, that we didn't end up using, but I was so inspired by it in its like dreamlike quality, but also that it felt like it was written specifically for a theater in quarantine, which was really exciting. This like desire to break out, to get out. And so that was really exciting. We sort of pushed the limits in terms of technology this week. I got a little ambitious. Our goal was actually to have Veronica be live, which would have been the first time that we had an additional performer in the box with Josh. But we quickly found that was going to overload the system, so we didn't get to do it, which was kind of sad. But we can't do all the things all at the same time, is what we learned.
So true. For those of you trying to be smart in the comments section, yes, headphones would probably solve it, but unfortunately, my OBS monitor refuses to work while I have headphones on. So with the NDI that we're using to get Skype in, what's hilarious about this process is, and sort of, I think, defines this entire closet project in the first place. Since we've decided to avoid making Zoom theater, now that we actually need Zoom functionality, we are failing a little bit.
It's true.
Ooh. It's really hard just getting one live person streamed out. And I don't think people realize that because there are platforms that their job is to make it so easy for us. But actually trying to do this kind of processing intensive work, it's a real challenge. And as much as we really can't wait to bring in another performer live, and we are going to work on it, and I'm lucky that I think I'm expanding my memory a little bit in the coming weeks, that we will be able to do that, hopefully. But as of yet, we're still kind of working on the whims of my poor MacBook 13-inch. It's a delicate little thing.
Love it.
Ooh.
I want to talk to Raja a little bit.
Please, go for it.
Hello.
I would just love to hear your sort of experience. People have listened to me talk about what it's like to make work in this space. So it's so exciting to have someone else making work in the space, and with Josh, and how it was, how you feel. I mean, your piece was so stunning.
Thank you. Had a blast. I felt very inspired by the room and by designing what I felt like could be my work in that space on Josh. I have certainly not let any of the ideas of quarantine keep me from being creative. So this, in many ways, has just furthered my like desire to be functional, creative, and thoughtful. And having never worked with Josh before, it was also a nice exercise in explaining to someone what my is and what I think about performing and seeing if that could translate. And I thought Josh did a wonderful job.
I mean, I've seen your work before, Raja, so it was an incredible experience for me. And I as someone who does not define themselves as a dancer, to be working with you, it feels like the most true sense of imposter syndrome. But truly, it was such a delight. And you showed up for a very 2 seconds on my doorstep with a bag of stuff. You passed it off and ran, and including many rolls of Mylar that didn't make it into the piece, that I hope make it into some other piece.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'll be invited back, but I certainly felt like the piece makes itself. That's something that I feel about these things. It's like, when we learn about dancing with the floor, and it's like, you're not actually in charge. The floor is in charge. Don't try to fight the floor. Just accept it. I feel the same with this. I had a bunch of stuff and a bunch of ideas, and then almost immediately, once both Josh and I gave in to just what we had and what made sense, the work sort of just appeared to us in a lot of ways, which is, I think, at least for me and the people that I make work with, mostly we love feeling like we're vessels for something. And so it certainly felt like the piece, the Opera Lucy, just came right through me, through Zoom, through Josh's Zoom, through Josh, for all of you all.
Don't fight the closet.
Don't fight the closet. I learned that a long time ago.
We have a question from Sanaz. What were some ways you were able to explore your artistry in ways with this project that you usually aren't able to in a theater space?
Well, I'll say that this was actually more ideal for me. I don't like people to try to copy what I'm doing when I'm making work in theater. I don't like giving line readings as a director, and I certainly don't like always showing the movement as a choreographer. And this sort of allowed me really to use language mostly to translate ideas. And that can sometimes be rare. And sometimes, you're like, fine, I'll just show you, or do it this way. So in this way, it was very ideal to have to come up with language and use that. And in a theater space, you're not always afforded that opportunity, unfortunately. And
that's one of the.
I'll also say simplicity, just being simple and direct.
There seems to be more space for conversation and for finding the words that you're actually looking for to describe what it is that you're trying to get, and having to work to find those words. And that then you develop a vocabulary for the piece that you wouldn't necessarily have to build if you are in a room with people and you have 2 seconds to give a note and you're just move your shoulder like this. Whereas you start to develop patterns of language which then makes the piece so much, I feel like, more tight and more specific, and more, like you were saying, what it wants to be.
Sorry, everyone, I got a package. I guess I'm really glad it didn't happen during the performance. But it also might be a lot of memory. So that would be wonderful.
Lucian, if this is the
We've got a
short
question
piece I've
from Lucienne. Lucienne, hello! From Invisible Dog. Question to Raja. Was it the shortest piece you made ever? How does it feel?
Well, as many people know, I like to make shows that are like 3 hours long. So it may have been the shortest piece I've ever made, but in my mind, this piece took over the course of like, years and years and years, So the experience and of the piece is that, it's happening over so much time. So nope. In concept, it's the longest piece I've ever made. A lifetime.
Well, it's actually, I think it's funny because in some ways it's one of our longest, it is our longest short piece. Talking about making work online, I think the attention span is so much shorter. Truly, this is our longest evening, I think. Everything else has been less than 20 minutes. By seconds. But, this is our first time crossing that boundary. So in some ways, I do think you've made a really epic piece of digital theater right now.
I'm still me, Lucy. Sorry, I'm still me.
Go ahead. Sorry, my volume is super low because I'm trying to help the echo issue.
Oh, I was just saying I'm still me. I feel like that's always what I'm doing, which Lucian finds torturous. So I did it. I did it.
Well, Lucian says, as an audience member, it was really enjoyable. So,
thank you, Lucian, very much.
Smiley faces. Many. Why do you think the attention span has shifted over the course of this quarantine? Or is that something you feel yourself? Or are you able to make it through War and Peace?
Well, I like duration, so I can make it through War and Peace. I think it's just about how we're used to experiencing things on a screen. If you're not going to have really tremendous production value, it's hard to sort of watch because we're used to looking at TV and movies where, you're constantly getting stimulated by something. So to look at a screen or a Zoom or an online performance and know that, the thing that stimulates you, which is the heat of the other body, which is the interaction, is not something you're actually feeling, you kind of fatigue faster, I believe. At least that's my experience. So it takes a certain kind of, I don't know. I think in some ways it's why I made some of the editing choices that I made with you. Actually be still. People aren't missing anything. Covering your face means that people aren't trying to relate to you in a way, which is something I play with all the time. But I think that sometimes that helps allow people to lean into the performance as opposed to sitting with the fact that they're missing something or missing out on something.
Zoom fatigue is right, Sanaz. And it makes me think of how transactional our relationship with our computers are.
Right.
We're not used to experiencing art. We'll call it art for a moment. I don't think we're used to that sort of relationship. And so just as an object, it's hard to meet it on those terms. But speaking to the morph suit and talking about objects and don't fight the closet, I think what I love so much about the morph suit is that I kind of feel like an extension of the closet, or the personification of the closet when I'm wearing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not trapped. I become
I when I'm wearing the morph suit, I feel more like me than normal. It's like, I mean, I'm very attached to my head voice. Like I have a thinking, we all have like the voice that's in our head that's thinking, and you're looking from inside your body out, and no one knows what you're thinking, and no one knows what's happening in your head. And when you put the morph suit on, or at least when I put the morph suit on, it feels like a literalization of the experience of being in your own skin. Double. And so you're looking out of it, and you're like, people have no idea of the experience that I'm having inside of this, but that's also the experience I have of just walking around and being normally. So it somehow like reveals that in a way that I think is really, really special. I love it.
I'm having a sort of out-of-body experience right now. Those of you who might notice, I'm constantly looking to my other computer because that's where Katie Rose and Raja are for me. But I know that this is the camera. But it's very strange because I can't see anything on this computer because of that weird 20-second delay. So I'm sort of trying to listen, or I'm pretending to listen this way, but listening that way, but realizing that I really need to watch a person to listen. And so it's a beautiful sort of separation of self right now that's happening. And it feels so absurd to me to be staring at this like blank screen while there's an actual image of you right here talking.
Yeah, it's just like Raja and I are having a conversation, and you, for me, are like way up there.
Weird. This is why Zoom exists. This is why. I tried to get Zoom to like reach into OBS, but that's also kind of messing with our bandwidth. I have a feeling we're probably all pretty choppy right now. I don't know if you're noticing that. I can't see a thing. I can never see anything until the show's over.
I think it actually looks fine.
Oh, good. That's great. NDI works, for those who care. Katie Rose, so you've done a bunch of these now.
Yes.
A bunch. You talked about hitting the limits of the technology.
Yes.
But would you talk a bit about, are you feeling at all hampered by the closet at this point? Are you hitting a wall? Or do you find that there's more to be done?
Oh, I think there's so much more to be done. I think it's just like our process is changing, or it's like getting more codified. So like, I feel like when we first started making work, you were like, at first it was like, I have this closet, let's make a piece. I can make the camera turn, let's make a piece. And then it was like, oh, I have this board in the closet, let's make a piece. I have this board, now the camera can rotate, let's make a piece. I've got this ladder. And so we've sort of, sky's the limit in terms of things that we can bring into it. I feel like we just started making the pieces because we were like, oh, we can just like basically make a little study of whatever it is that we had at the moment. And I feel like now I'm much more desirous of like diving into sort of the theatricality of the discovering sort of how far we can go in terms of theatricality in the closet. Because before we have been like doing like more dance stuff. So trying to get some story, some narrative, maybe, I don't know. What else have we been doing? Yeah, so that's sort of where I'm desirous of continuing to like make studies and to sort of problem solve in the way that we have, because I felt like that is like so satisfying for me as a maker who is not able to make right now.
I think it's funny because in some ways it's very much like an early. We were in this early phase of a relationship with the closet, right? Where like we were discovering everything that was new about it, and constantly finding new technology or new stuff, and there's always more stuff. Sanaz is asking if we tried painting the closet, and no, we haven't. It comes up a lot. It's a great idea, and yet I want to paint it live. I think that'd be a fun piece.
I would love hot pink closet.
Yes, yes. So it's, you know, it would be fun to do.
It would look so good with that jumpsuit.
We're now kind of like at the moment where it's not to say we've even touched the boundaries of what's to be done, but now it's about being intentional in like, here's the story I want to tell in the closet. Whereas I think it was so reactionary before. It was like, oh, here's a board. Let's make a piece with a board and see where that goes. And now it's starting to evolve where it's becoming, you know, an actual venue within which we can tell all sorts of stories, but we have to be more mindful about it. We've got reactions about hot pink. Veronica! So Veronica Jiao is in the comments section. Veronica was the dancer in Open, Open, Open. And Veronica says hot pink. And boy, are you right. That is a great idea. Alex Hawthorne, also in the comments section. It's entirely possible our viewers right now are made up entirely of people who have worked on shows before. Alex was the sound designer on Hypochondriac last week. Alex says, tough to do for 2 shows. Oh, you're right. You'd have to do kind of, what's the looping, like ping pong looper, you know? You would paint it pink in one show, and then you'd paint it white in the next show, right?
Yeah.
Sanaz says, if you paint it green, that could be some wild green screen opportunities. Idea, very good idea. Very good. Raja and Katie Rose, you are... Suddenly I feel like I'm a radio host. Pivoting. But no, you are here in what I consider to be the weirdest moment of any of these evenings. It's really wonderful to have you, but you're catching me in a scenario in which usually I just ramble at comments for about a half hour or so. But I actually
we can
have
ramble
people
at
to talk
comments
to
too,
today, which is wonderful. But also feel free to riff on comments randomly. I think we get them all at the same time. I don't think time travel is involved in this scenario. I want to ask Veronica questions too, but now I don't know if that'll work in terms of comments.
We can just type them.
That's a good point. Oh, we can ask.
We could also just try calling her.
Oh, that's a good point. Are you gonna try?
I mean, I don't know how to do that.
I don't know.
You can also
text her.
Oh, yeah, we can text her.
just ask her questions in the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Veronica, we just want to know, text us, right? We just want to know what it was like for you. You're down, I believe, in South Carolina. Am I correct? Or is it North
That's
Carolina?
right.
I think it's South Carolina, right, Katie Rose?
Yes.
Well, it's Carolina.
I mean, yeah, so we did all rehearsals with Veronica being live until Tuesday. Like, we had our last rehearsal still hoping that it was going to be live, and then we couldn't do it. So then we had to have like 2 more rehearsals where we like made a shot list for Veronica, so she had to like film it by herself.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that ended up
Veronica
being
says that she had masking tape on the floor to spike her marks, and that makes sense. That's good. I have spike for my camera. That was very upset when I bumped into it.
Yeah, she was so. I mean, the one of the things too about rehearsing with other people. I mean, even when we rehearse with you, Josh, is that you, Josh, have to be your own stage manager of your own like rehearsal process, and like so Veronica had to do the same thing where like she had to put down tape wherever, and then we had to like move the camera, and then we had to move the tape again, and like figure all of that out. Like things where like if you had more than one person, it would be like great and really fast. But this way, it's exciting to me because I feel like we have to just take the time to be meticulous. But it's definitely a different way of working. And then I feel like, especially commercial theater where you're just like trying to move so quickly, it's exciting to get to be meticulous, but also it's just like very different.
Right.
Raja, did you find that way too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of go back and forth. I feel you're like, oh, I really want this detail because the frame. It's. So I mean, I've been making films for some time, and you get really excited by what's in the frame, right? And this feels, and often I tell people that editing is a lot like choreography, but making this is a lot like, oh my gosh, the detail, because I'm only seeing what I'm seeing to kind of be exactly the way I want it, because there's nothing else to like. What I do is normally distract people quite a bit with other things in like a theater performance. So it's like, oh, I can't distract. I mean, with music, distractions, but with this, it's like, I really just have to. I'm really just watching my body. So it requires a certain kind of and meticulous.
It's funny. I think this this hybrid language between the theatrical or the dance language and the cinematic is something that we're finding, right? And it's interesting because I find myself talking using language that is definitely more film based at this point. Because I mean, in the first place, upstage, downstage really no longer applies. Although take a step forward does. It's a little treacherous in heels, I do have to admit. Particularly heels, they're a little big. They're a little big.
That just ups it ups the tension, which I loved so much. Who's calling me?
Someone's calling you?
Yeah.
Answer it. I got a package.
What? Hi, how are you? Sorry, I didn't know this number, and I'm on a call. Can I call you back? Okay, great. Thank you. Bye. Oh, I thought I put you all on mute.
No.
Hi, everyone. So I hate when I get calls that I don't know. I'm like, ooh, who is that?
Yeah. Oh no, I have to take any call of a number that I've never seen before. So invariably, I talk more to scammers than in people who I know.
Right.
Ooh, yes, Sanaz.
Oh, it's so
yes,
funny.
It is amazing.
So
Sanaz,
Josh,
I'm
what are you
really
going to do in
glad
between
we
shows?
finally got to use this text. I've really loved it for some time. And it means a lot that we got to it. I think we've done 2 of the 8 pieces that were submitted that week. So far, we're getting there. We are doing it. It's slow going. But it's beautiful. I'll take a brief moment while we still have people here to again say there is a tip jar in the description if you would like to donate to any of the artists. Not any of, all of us. We divide it equally. Also, I mean, I guess you could specify. Say, only leave it to them. But that also in 2 weeks, we're going to be back with the 7th voyage of Egon Tichy. It is a brand new adaptation of a Stanislaw Lem short story. You might know Lem. He also wrote Solaris. But this one is an absolute slapstick farce space adventure. That we are time travel. It's insane, and we're gonna do it in the closet with the sinking ship, John Levin and Josh Luxemburg, and Florian Staub, Peggy Wong, Jesse Garrison, really amazing designers that are working to multiply me by. I think there's going to be 30 or so of me. That's me making, I think, a low bar estimate. It's supposed to be infinite, but I think you'll see 30 or so. I'm guessing. Might be more. But yeah, it's going to be really outlandish, and that's in 2 weeks. So I think, I mean, part of the thing actually, speaking of, now that I did the promo, I try to hit those every now and then. Now that, something I find kind of wonderful about the closet and the schedule is that there is something, nothing is precious in the closet. Everything can be sort of disposable in a way, and I think that's maybe a negative word for a very positive connotation that I have. It's disposable, but it's even more ephemeral than I think theater sometimes usually is for me. Josh. Yeah, many Joshes. Oh. Katie Rose.
Yes, Josh.
I don't know, it's 8:06. We should probably start wrapping up soon. Because
We should. You have another.
What?
You have a sandwich
Yeah, I have
to
another
eat.
show.
You have to drink some water. You have to lay down on
Yeah,
the
there's
floor
water,
and
there's
like
sandwiches,
rest a little bit.
And there's cleaning up all the confetti.
Oh yes.
So it might be the right time to stop right now. But I would love to thank, again, Katie Rose McLaughlin, Raja Feather Kelly. So glad to have you both here. Raja, truly, like, what a delight. I'm so glad to have been able to work with you. And we're going to be back in 2 weeks with the 7th voyage of Egon Tichy. We're going to be back in a month or 4 weeks after that. No, we'll be back in 4 weeks. I haven't come up with the right language to figure out how to define these, like, installments. But we'll be back in 4 weeks with another installment of Closet Works. And, yeah, we'll be here every 2 weeks in the closet. Again, there's a donation link. Again, please subscribe if you can.
You can also
and
come back
if you
to see
enjoyed
the
yourself
9 o'clock show.
Send out that link to the 9 p.m. show on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever you use. Send it out. Invite your friends. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raja. Thank you, Katie Rose. And hi, Samantha. And we'll see you all soon. Odds are good that this is all going to keep going. So, so until it's over, and probably after that, we'll be here in the closet. I'm going to try and figure out how I can get to the cut screen. And thank you all. Have a great night. Be well.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.